Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Durham Unplugged Season 2. Today with me, I have a very special guest. We have Regional Councillor David Pickles from the city of Pickering. David, how are you?
I'm doing great. Hello, good to see you. Glad I finally made your list. I know it wasn't your first choice, but I must at least be in the top 10, 20.
I think you're in the middle right now, which is good. I mean, that's pretty good at all things considered. But okay, so first things first. Do you prefer David, Dave, D? What do you prefer?
Uh, Dave is fine. Usually at council or during elections, I use David because Dave Ryan uses Dave.
Fair
So
enough. You guys had an accord, a meeting of the minds where you divvied up the names and when you can use them. Very good. So I'll call you David then. I think I'm used to calling you David anyways. And how have you been so far amidst the COVID pandemic?
So we're doing good. So my wife owns a couple small businesses, bulk barns. So they're essential services. They've remained open. So she's working every day. So they're working harder and harder for less and less revenue.
Yeah.
So it's very tiring on her. Both my daughters are in healthcare. Is there a cat over my shoulder?
There's a surprise right now. We have a surprise guest, ladies and gentlemen. What is the cat's name?
This one's Alfie. This is my oldest daughter's cat that we're watching for the weekend.
Okay. Hello, Alfie.
So our cat at our house, who you're probably not going to see because she can't jump that high, is about 12 years old and much heavier. So she won't be on my.
Yeah, right. Sorry, you're talking about COVID.
Healthcare. My one daughter is a registered nurse at Sick Kids, so they're both working. For me personally, probably as busy as ever, but missing the social interaction.
Yeah.
You know, going to Ribfest, going to ribbon cuttings, seeing people in person at meetings, going to senior events. I think you were on the call today for the mayor's breakfast. Usually it's a breakfast. Today I'm staring at my phone. So missing a lot of that social interaction, a lot of it that makes the job even more enjoyable, and kind of missing it.
It's kind of fascinating though, your household, because in a sense, we're seeing in one household three different points of view of COVID. We have the small business owner, we have the healthcare worker, we have the legislative politician. So you guys must share some pretty fascinating war stories, I imagine.
Yeah, so retail, my wife is finding it's very challenging. And then both with my daughters being in healthcare, we're we're very careful about, you know, seeing them a lot. So we hadn't seen them for a long time. We had a virtual Easter dinner where my wife and I had our dinner at home. They had their dinner at their respective homes, and we sort of watched each other, you know, via Skype or something. So
right.
You know, that was challenging. We get to see each other maybe, you know, in the backyard, the end of the driveway now. But given that they're in healthcare, we do have to be very
careful.
Cautious.
Yeah. Now, who cooks the Easter dinner? Are you a cook? Do you like to cook, David?
So
I do not. For example, like I am an awful cook, and I admit that. I'm very good at very, very many things. Cooking is not one of them. So I can do the basics like grilled cheese for my kid, but that's about where my extent stops.
Well, grilled cheese, fried egg sandwich, craft dinner are my specialties.
Thank you.
Given that my wife has been working more, and I would do the grocery shopping stuff, I've made a few pasta dishes and that here and there. But really, I'm barbecuing and I'm washing dishes. That's my role.
So it looks like we have similar roles. Yeah, we fired up our barbecue as well, and yeah, like I realized I do have to contribute in feeding my family somehow. So just like you, barbecue is the best way to do that. And I'm getting slowly better. I wouldn't say I'm any sort of grill master, but I haven't burnt anything, and I think that's progress, right? So
I mean, we do fish and we do vegetables and we do shish kebabs, and the odd time we try things like pizza and that on the barbecue. Because, you know, during this time of year, it's nice to, you must also try and be outside as much as you can. So if you can sit outside and then keep an eye on the barbecue without going in the house and getting it hot, you know, all the better.
That's the goal.
My wife, kind of day about in the middle of winter.
I know, trust me. I still maintain though, because like my barbecue is close enough to my backyard door that I will try and barbecue as much as I can in the winter just to contribute to the feeding of my family. Now, David, you've been in politics over 20 years, if I'm not mistaken.
So I'm in my 23rd consecutive year on council. I was elected in 97. You might recall the same year, same election with Mark Holland,
Right.
although he took a sabbatical there in between, so he doesn't have consecutive service.
Involuntary sabbatical, he calls it.
But I served on a couple of city committees before that, so I'd probably go back to 94, 95, but elected in 97 and in my 23rd consecutive year. Mayor Ryan is in his 26th consecutive year, I believe.
Okay.
So he's ahead of me.
What about, do you know in the region, do you have any sort of record in the region right now? You and Mayor Ryan?
Oh, yeah, that I don't know. There's some others that have been there for a while. They might not have all been consecutive. I think Joe Drum sort of was holding the record there 40 years or something like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
He's not there any longer, but I don't know. I haven't really. So there is maybe one small fact. I'm not sure anybody has been consecutively on regional council from 1997 other than Dave Ryan and myself, because Jack Heath and Markham was asking me about that at one point.
Right.
So that may be the case.
That's pretty cool. Do you have another 17 years in you? Can you take on Drum?
Well, there was a day last week when I came home and I poured a glass of wine and I said to my wife, I don't think I can take it any longer. Because you hear about a lot of problems in the community and businesses that are hurting and people that are personally hurting. And then you watch the news and you see what's going on in different places around the world. And boy, there's a lot of troubles right now. So sometimes that's tough.
Yeah. So did you make the jump straight to regional? You didn't start at local council first?
So I was elected as a city councillor in 1997, and
Right.
in 2014, I ran for regional.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is my second term regional.
Fantastic. And I always ask this because, a lot of people who watch this kind of want to get started in politics. What was your calling? Were you always a political nut? Did you always have an interest in politics? Or is it just like, you're just like, why not?
So I would say I've always had an interest in politics. I remember in elementary school, I would pay attention to who was running at every level of government. I would, we didn't have the internet then, but I would look at all the brochures. I would follow. I went out of my way in 1980 to meet Pierre Trudeau in the election that he lost to Joe Clark.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a couple buses to get there. I didn't have a car at the time. And then I worked for the provincial government, as you may know, for over 30 years. So I always followed things, from that perspective. It was an important part of my job, policy role. And then when we moved to Pickering in 88, I guess there were some local things like play equipment in the park and things that you saw in the neighborhood and that made me get involved and throw my name in. And in 1997, our city councillor at the time, Enrico Pastrito, ran against Wayne Arthurs for mayor, which created a vacancy that I put my name in sort of on the last day just to find out 4 other people had put their name in, including the brother of the incumbent.
Okay.
So he had the name recognition and stuff. Nice fellow. Always got along with him. But I won a narrow election, 41 votes over him, and that's the narrowest one I've had in my 7 elections.
Wow, what a barn burner! I have 41 votes. That is,
What?
yeah. Because 41 votes really reflects, in a sense, on average, 15 to 20 households. If I had knocked 15 to 20 more doors, that could have been the difference, right? And it's a war of attrition. I find elections are just like throwing yourself out there, keep knocking. I don't care how tired you are, you got to keep knocking, right? So
well, and you know that, and I know that. I know when it's dark and it's raining, I'm still knocking on doors because I remember that year that I won by 41 votes. So
yeah, you can't forget that.
I try to knock every house. I pick up every sign that falls down because you never know if that makes a difference or not, right?
And your ward is North Pickering, is it not? Am I incorrect there?
So it's like a giant horseshoe. It has part of the western urban area of Pickering, and then it includes all of the north, which is massive, includes a number of hamlets. And then the urban area in the east, which is where I live, but north of the 401 and east of Liverpool Road, right over to the Ajax boundary. So it does include the city center and the major subdivisions along Brock Road and along Finch to Liverpool. So it does have a lot of the urban area, but at one time it was kind of much of the lesser populated parts of Pickering that now have filled in. So not only the geographic size of Ward 3, but a disproportionate majority share of the population is in Ward 3. So
Okay.
this is looking at redistributing the boundaries because growth is occurring more so in Ward 3 compared to the other ones. So with Seaton, it's only going to grow
Even more, right? Yeah. But I can't. I just know that northern block you have, and you said there's all these hamlets in there. Like knocking on doors must be a pain to like geographically map out, right?
So the funny thing is, when you knock doors in a hamlet, whether it be Whitevale, Claremont, or Greenwood, for every 10 doors you knock in the same amount of time in a hamlet, in the denser area, you could have knocked 150.
Right.
Because you're going down driveways and up and down hills. But I do get out there. I try to do it when it's lighter and on a weekend because there's more pets and obstacles, and you know in the dark when you hit a wild rose bush in the face, so.
Yeah, no, totally. Now, how long have you been married for, if I may ask? Putting you on the spot, I apologize.
27 years.
27 years.
Same woman.
Yeah, no, of course. That's amazing. And sorry, what is
story?
What is your wife's name?
Brenda.
And how did you meet? How did you meet Brenda?
So I had moved to Toronto fairly recently. I was working one of my first jobs with the provincial government, and it turned out that we were both in a high-rise building in Don Mills, and we sort of parked in the parking lot at the same time, walked down the hallway at the same time, caught the elevator to the same floor.
Oh, that's adorable.
Didn't realize that we were neighbors, and that's how we met.
Oh, okay. And then, do you remember the first song you danced to, like your wedding dance song?
Oh, wedding. Oh,
yeah. So what was your wedding song?
The wedding was Wonderful World. Wonderful
Louis Armstrong.
Louis Armstrong. Yeah, I was going to say Fats Domino. I couldn't remember what the name was.
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
If it was actually the first song we ever danced to, it was probably some 80s song. It's like Bamboo or RPM or one of those places. So I don't know. Duran. I don't know.
It was. Let's just say for the record, it was "Hungry Like the Wolf" by Duran. Right. And so what does Dave Pickles do in his free time? Like I've known you probably around 2015-ish when I started working for Mark, and we'd see each other at events and everything. And I always just see you in my mind. Like, you're always just working. Like I always see you at events. I always see you at council. What do you do in your free time?
So we have a nice backyard, and I do like just to go out and sit in the yard, sort of chat with my wife. We go on walks. I do a lot of try and look after. I grow some tomato plants and look after the flower beds and stuff. So really, it's like going from high intensity meetings to almost doing as little as possible.
To Zen, yeah.
There's nothing better on a nice day than sitting out in the backyard with a cold drink and reading a book. And that's usually what I do in the evening. I watch a little television and read a book as well. So, sort of, it tends to be historical fiction or fiction, maybe the odd biography. I'm reading, the biography of Freddie Mercury and Bobby Orr are books I've read recently, but a lot of John Grisham. Thomas Hardy is probably my favorite. My favorite book of all time is probably Martian Chronicles.
Oh, I haven't read that.
Martian Chronicles is a series of short stories. Of course now I forget his name, but I'll remember. Science fiction.
Is it Isaac Asimov? That's always my guess when I hear the word Martian.
Oh my God, I can't.
I can look it up right now. Martian Chronicles?
He did Fahrenheit 451.
Ray Bradbury.
Martian Chronicles. You got to read it.
I will.
This might be Thomas Hardy, Mayor of Casterbridge.
I have unfortunately not read a Ray Bradbury book since school when I was forced to read a Ray Bradbury book. So I just there's just like aversion to his novels, even though they're all masterpieces in their own right. But yeah, because I just have that, that it feels like homework in my stomach where I'm just like, oh.
I think Fahrenheit 451 was required reading in high school.
Everyone, right?
Chronicles, because I sit back, sometimes I read these books and I sit back and if I only had the imagination that these guys had, because I would love to write. I would love to be a writer. Maybe that'll be my fourth or fifth career,
Right.
being a writer, a fiction writer.
After you beat Joe Drum's record, then you will go on to the sunset and become a writer. We have that official, folks. And Freddie Mercury, that's probably a very good biography. Are you a big Queen fan?
Huge Queen fan. That's my all-time favorite. I like Led Zeppelin, Queen, Rolling Stones, but I'm really like an 80s guy. I love all the 80s groups. The
New Wave. Do you like New Wave? Do you like the hair metal? Or all of it?
The New Wave stuff, the Duran Duran, the
Depeche
Thompson,
Mode,
Human League, all that sort of stuff. I love, and a lot of them are one-hit wonders, so I sort of love the obscure music, and I like rock history, and I just watched a documentary the other day on Leonard Skinner, which was quite interesting, and Ronnie Van Zant and the plane crash and all that.
Yeah.
It's funny because when you're not doing the political stuff and the city stuff, I kind of go right to the other end with 80s music and watching Jeopardy and really trying to unwind, because I think that's really important.
Do you find you're good at Jeopardy?
I am. Trivial Pursuit and Jeopardy, for sure. I beat a lot of the people on there, not just the college kids, too.
Right. Yeah. Or the children, actually, as well. But no, I always I
have a great memory for retaining useless information.
Yes, thank you. We have that in common. I grew up with two older sisters who were very, very intelligent and smart people, and I felt dumb for, I'm going to say, the first 20 of my 40 years on this planet. So it's just like, I like towards the later end of my life, I am just obsessed about memorizing facts. And so, anytime the town of Ajax has like a trivia, any sort of thing, I'm always right there. And so we'll have to do a challenge, Dave.
Time, yeah.
We'll get a Pickering team and an Ajax team, and we'll settle this once and for all.
Well, I would put Kevin Ash on my team, because
he was saying that too. He was saying that as well.
Encyclopedia.
Yeah, I can't. This is going to happen, folks. We're going to have a charity trivia match between the two councils, and winner take all. And by that I mean we'll annex the other municipality.
Oh, okay.
It's very high stakes for trivia here.
A certain part of word 3 I would be willing to give up. So. No.
Oh, don't say that out loud. Don't say that out loud. Did you you watched Jeopardy? Is there any other show you're following right now?
So I don't know. Is this embarrassing or not? We watched Outlander.
Oh yes, I hear that gentleman takes his shirt off a lot.
And that's why my wife watches it with me. Maybe.
Sure, of course.
There was a couple of different series about Queen Victoria, so I am a bit of a history buff. I enjoyed those. We're watching a series now called The Stranger, and another one called Little Fires.
I haven't even heard of these.
Yeah, so they're both pretty interesting. So
are they on Netflix? Are they on Crave, Hulu, Prime?
Little Fires is on Netflix. The other one is on something else. The Stranger, I think, is on something else. So I don't remember what it is. Crave or something.
One of the many streaming services we all have now.
Got all these remotes, and you struggle to remember where a show was. But some of these are only 4 to 8 episodes, so they're nice to watch over the course of a week or a few days or something. It's not something that people. House of Cards. I sort of joined that late, and somebody says, "Oh, okay, well, you should watch House of Cards. It's in the 5th season." It's like I got a gazillion episodes, but I did it until the end. House of Cards is quite good.
Yeah, the last season was just very. They kind of ignored the politics almost and just became just ridiculous drama, I found, and it was still entertaining, but not with the first few seasons. And it's like, it's this weird culture we have right now where it's like, as an actor, Kevin Spacey had some very memorable roles in Seven, Usual Suspects, and everything. But now with all the allegations, it's weird to watch him. It's almost like Michael Jackson songs. I love Michael Jackson as a kid. I could never moonwalk, so I'm not gonna pretend like I could, but I could sing all the songs off by heart. Now, when you hear it on the radio or it shows up on a streaming, you hesitate a bit. You're like, it feels kind of wrong to enjoy this music, right?
And I liked in the day Gary Glitter. I thought.
Yeah. He has the worst story, right? It's child pornography, wasn't it?
Paul Glad, I think he's still in prison. So,
Yeah, that was yeah. Wait,
it's disappointing. Hmm?
aside from the Hey song, what other song did Gary Glitter have?
Rock and roll, rock and roll, rock and roll. The ones that play at the anthems.
Oh, okay.
Rock and roll part 2. Hey, I'm back.
I
He
just
had
know the Hey song when
a
I
lot
hear.
of big.
Okay.
Yeah, gotta look them up.
I do. The rock side I was not as strong on as I was the pop side. Now, do you go to a lot of concerts with the missus?
I know we've been to Rod Stewart.
Oh, how was that?
We were at Blue Rodeo. Very, very excellent shows. Saw the Rolling Stones when they were in town a couple years
Oh,
ago. There's nothing like seeing them play, some of their classics
yeah,
and these guys are 25 years older than me. They put
yeah.
on an excellent show.
Oh,
You know,
I'm convinced they sold their souls for an everlasting life in rock and roll. Like it
how
is
is they're
impossible
still
that you can do
alive?
that many drugs, that much alcohol, like live the rock and roll lifestyle for that long and still outlive like young people. It blows my mind.
Well, that's because Keith Richards is embalmed, but he's still alive.
Right. That's yeah, and
So,
blood transfusions.
so I'll give you a trivia fun fact about Rod Stewart. So you know the Kinks, Ray and Dave Davies.
Yep.
So when they were forming their band, they were doing tryouts. Rod Stewart tried out for the band, but their mother said he couldn't sing, so they didn't let him join the band. He was a bad singer. So
That's
Rod Stewart
hilarious.
didn't get to join the Kinks.
And I think he did okay though. You know what? I think he survived. He had a few day jobs, and I think he did all right.
Yeah.
Um, now, what do you look for most about post COVID life? Is there a restaurant like this isn't the plug part,
Uh,
but just like what's the first thing you're gonna do once we get back to like a normal semblance of life?
so my wife and I do like to go out to some of the local restaurants, Pickle Barrel, Amici's,
I love Michi's.
Moxie's, Port. So we really miss that
Right.
because it gave us a bit of a break in cooking, and would go with another couple or our kids or something like that. So we really miss the fact that there's really, other than outdoors, there isn't any place you can go to. Movies. My wife loves going to the movies, and of course you can't do that.
Right.
So it's not the same eating popcorn on the couch and
No.
watching your TV than it is going up to the Cineplex. So we really miss that. And my parents are down in London, and they're older, and so I talk to them regularly, but I don't drive down to London to see them because
You shouldn't
as
be, right? It's the responsible thing to do is not to, right? Yeah.
and you hate for them to catch something and always wonder if you gave it to them.
Right.
So looking forward to seeing them and other family and friends, and going out for dinner or having people over and sit out in the backyard and have a drink, that sort of thing.
Well, I very much echo how your wife feels. Like my wife and I, like our entire marriage is on the foundation of we love movies, right? And you're right, like watching it at home, I find like watching it at home, if your phone's there, you'll check your phone and then it takes you out of the movie just even once, and that whole experience is gone. Whereas in the
Yeah.
theater, like we just obey the rules, the unwritten rules of put your phone away and just be absorbed in it. And I think that changes the movie experience.
My wife really likes the VIP one over at the Pickering Town Center. So you get
Yeah,
the
you guys
big
are so lucky you have it.
lounge.
So lucky.
They bring you your drink and food in this big cushy chair, and you book in advance. And normally we'd get there early, and they have a bar and a bistro down there, so you can get a bite to eat and a drink, and then you can go take your seat and have another snack or popcorn and lounge out on the chair. I've seen the odd person fall asleep in there,
That's probably my wife, to be honest. Sometimes she gets a little too comfortable. Now, do you remember the first movie you ever saw with your wife?
but
It's a weird question, but unfortunately, I have a very not embarrassing, but I don't have a proud one.
you know what? I really don't know the answer to that question.
So, like, in spite of the fact that I'm a cinephile for all intents and purposes, I love movies that much. The first movie my wife and I saw when we were dating was the movie Salt with Angelina Jolie, and
Oh yeah.
it was such a garbage movie that it's just like for a couple that loves movies as much as we do, you think it'd be like, oh, we saw 12 Years a Slave, we saw like something grandiose, and just like no, it was Salt. It was that cheesy Russian spy drama with Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
disappointing. Now, We have a few minutes left. Is there a small business or a charity you want to plug?
So St. Paul's on the Hill Food Bank, which is part of Durham Feed the Need, does great work. And Margaret there has been a volunteer forever. And they're located not far from City Hall. And particularly during COVID-19, there's been a lot of need. So, you know, you can't say enough about them and Margaret, and they do a fantastic job for people who have need in the community. And they've also, I think, been part of the caremonger exercise, or at least I would mention the caremongers as well, because they're getting food and necessities out to people in the community. So I'd say those two, and any coordination they've had between them is great. So small businesses. I mean, I think of my wife out there. She has a bulk barn store. They're
Which one?
She has two, but they're not in Pickering. One's in Ajax.
Oh, so the one on Kingston?
On Taunton Road.
Oh, the one my wife goes to then, the one in Taunton, right? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So that one, and one in Bowmanville. So, you know, it's been a lot of hard work, but I appreciate that. So if I'm thinking of someone else comes to the top of my mind, I was just out, picked up food the other day at the roadie shop in Pickering.
The roadie shop, I've never heard of it.
So great roadie. I had chicken curry, spicy.
Oh, okay.
It was probably like, maybe it wouldn't be spicy for others, sort of 3 out of 5 for me, but it was very good. And it's at the plaza at Valley Farm and Kingston Road. So given that I was there pretty recently, I'll give a shout out to them.
Do you generally, like, have you found, like, because, you know, Pickering is so multicultural, like Ajax, do you find you've expanded your taste? Like, do you ever have the goat roadie or anything like that, or?
I would. I haven't.
Okay.
My wife and I were down in Antigua one time, and we had a goat, maybe it was even a goat curry. And then the next day we were out driving, and there was like a herd of goats blocking the road. We had to wait for them, and they were all very cute and everything. So my wife's never had goats since.
Karma. It's karma, right? They're like, how dare you? Well, David, this has been, it's been a half hour. Sorry, go ahead.
Another place, Hot Mama Noise by the GO Station, Thai food. Very. So I love Thai food. I love Italian food, so Amici's would go to a lot as well.
Amici's was the first Durham dinner I took to my wife after we were married. We were given it to as a wedding present, and oh my goodness. Yeah.
And that's Whitby? The one in
Sorry?
Whitby?
No, we went to the Pickering one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's I would say some of the best Italian I've had, and I'm including all those fancy Toronto restaurants. They just make a fantastic pasta, and the sauce is just that, you know, it's a very fine line between like Eastside Mario's and then Amici's, but they set themselves apart. So, and decent prices too. So I don't know. It's the best kept secret in Pickering, in my opinion, is Amici's.
Oh, I'm not sure it's a secret because of
fair enough. I always say it's a secret just because, like, unless you know about it, you would never go, like, because like it's almost in a commercial building, right? That's at the ground floor, so it's like you wouldn't think to go there, but it's amazing. Another Pickering restaurant I want to give a shout out to is Jasper's Fish and Chips.
Oh yes, yeah, very good. I've been there as well. I was going to say, with respect to Amici's, because there's a corporate building there and it's close to City Hall, if you go at lunch, you tend to see a lot of the same people there. The people who, you know, from Walkerhead that work in the building,
right,
and people at City Hall, and people like Kevin Ash, who has an office in that building as well. So,
you know, I'm hurt. I've never been invited to Amici's from Kevin Ash. So, Kevin, if you're watching, buddy, come on.
Well. Councillor Pickles is inviting you, and maybe as an afterthought, we'll see if Kevin can join us.
Well, as long as you guys are treating, then I'm all in. But yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people find you on social media?
So davidpickles.com, and on Facebook, David Pickles. I don't use Instagram and Twitter and that sort of stuff as much, but you know, David Pickles at pickering.ca. A lot of people find you there as well. And thank you very much for hosting me today. I saw the one you did with Kevin Ash, and it was good and it was fun. And as I say, I've worked over 30 years in the provincial government, and I'm in my 23rd consecutive year on council. And considering it's probably the the pinnacle of my career to be on your podcast. So I much appreciate that.
Again, you have at least 17 years left to go, right? So we still got time, but we'll definitely have you back as well, and we'll find out more about you post COVID. So thank you so much, folks. You can find me at Your Voice for Ajax on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So from here in Ajax and David Pickles in Pickering, thank you very much for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.